I'm Herrera.
And I'm Carelle Herrera.
Welcome to Stories of Strength, where we find stories of people who have overcome and have done extraordinary things.
Our guest today is someone we all admire. I don't know, I've heard her songs, I've cried with her songs, and she is a multi-platinum awardee. Yung album niya na Malaya, I think, is an 8-time platinum awardee. So, from songs na Ikaw at Ako, Paubaya, she has given hope to broken hearts.
Her painful songs and her soulful voice comes from much real life pain and struggles that she has lived with and fought her way out of.
Let's get to know her struggles and how she survived these to redefine herself and make herself stronger.
Ladies and gentlemen, Moira de la Torre.
Hi, Ate Carelle. Hi, Kuya RR. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. My gosh.
Ate.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Kita Ate Carelle.
Ganda. So, yes, thank you so much for making time. And I know that even if there is a pandemic, even if, things are tough right now, you're still very busy, which we're very happy with. So, yeah, thank you for, carving out that little bit of time for you to be heard today.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
So, my first question is quite simple. Pretending that people don't know you, as if, no? Hindi ka kilala.
Ano naman doon?
Pretending that people don't know you. Who is this Moira? What's her story?
Nga na, it's simple but hard. Well, my name is Moira de la Torre Hernandez, and I am a new wife of 2 years. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I love God and I love people. I think that's it.
Oh, how beautifully said. Now, you.
Oh, I forgot. I'm a dog mom.
Oh,
He's with me today in the interview.
Wow, it's a
but
big dog.
He's asleep already.
I love that. Now, being a singer, has this always been your dream? Growing up, what was it like? Has this always been something that you've wanted to achieve? So, what was it like growing up as Moira?
I grew up in church. I grew up as a pastor's kid. So I started singing in the music ministry when I was 3, because my family would sing in family choirs and I would be, forced into it. But I wasn't forced into it. I looked like I enjoyed it. But I started leading worship when I was 9 years old in kids' church, and then progressed to youth and then to the main services. So singing has always been there. But it wasn't until I was 13, 12 going on 13 that I started writing my own songs. And so I think it was that moment when I found so much freedom from making songwriting an outlet that I felt it felt more like discovering my calling than discovering my dream. Like, cause you know how I dreamt of having a husband someday. I dreamt of, when I stood in front of Jason at the end of the aisle, that felt like a dream come true. But with music, with singing and singing on stage, yes, it felt like a dream come true in a sense, but it felt more like me fulfilling what I've always been called to do. Um, so uh, there I wrote songs at 13. I released my very first song at 16. I joined my first competition at 18. Started recording jingles for commercials from 18 to 23. And then from 23 to present, have been pursuing my music career full time.
um, ano yan eh, I can see that there is love and there is passion for songwriting, for music, for singing. Pero may kaakibat yan na fame. Is it
Yeah.
something that you thought of? Is that part was that part of the plan or
Uh, I I don't know. Like when, of course, when it comes, like especially when you're trying to be in the industry, how you define big break is when when you become famous.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, my first big break was when my song was used on in a movie called Camp Sawi, and not a lot of people knew that, but to me it was like, oh, this is my big break. Like it already felt like a big break. So I think fame was never it was never like a lingering thing in my head. Of course I embraced it when it came. And when it did come, it felt like I had now a big responsibility to use my platform well. Like I had to be, it felt more like that than like an ego filler. It didn't feel like that for me. It just felt like my reach for people, my stage just got bigger. My because the no matter what stage I sing in, my message remains the same, and it's hope. And so it like when I first started writing songs like Malaya, or like when the first songs that I wrote, they were more like an outlet for me. So it I never really imagined it would, be heard by millions of people. To me, it's just I just wanted to let it out because I didn't have an Ate Carelle back then. I didn't have anyone to put names on what I was going through. I
Oh.
a lot of the things that I went through before, I only know the answers to now because of Ate Carelle. But in that moment when I was going through them, I didn't know I had anorexia. I didn't know I had bulimia. I didn't know um, I lost the security and the stability that the kid should have gotten as she was growing older. I didn't know any of that. So the closest thing to me that helped me heal was worship. And the second level to that was getting a guitar and writing my own songs. Um, and
And what
so
you're
yeah.
doing, honestly, is helping others heal too. With the message, the songs that you're singing, it's oh my goodness, it's inspiring people. It's making love better. It's making people happy.
galing, I want to go back to what you said na parang you said that parang I was going through these things and I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know that there was something going on already. So despite everything, like ang daming mong minention right? Anorexia, you had but
Mm.
what made you survive all of that?
I don't know. It is purpose. It is purpose. And it's amazing because when you go into worship, when you start, you know, you're in a moment where you don't know what's happening around you and inside of you. You don't have the answers to why you're feeling this way and why these things are happening around you. But then you go into that moment of worship, and not only do you find healing, but you also find purpose. um what I what I listened to before, do you know Brooke Fraser? She's my favorite singer
Yes,
songwriter.
yes,
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 yes, yes.
yes.
She wrote Hosanna, What a Beautiful Name.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
she has a solo album. and and then there was a time in my life where I was just looking for answers, like constantly looking for answers. I was a kid in Olongapo, and I didn't have answers. And then I was listening to her album, and then her bridge said, um, if I add, if I subtract, if I take it all, try to take some back, I'd forgotten the freedom that comes from the fact that you are the sum and you are the one I want. And when I listened to that song, I was like, wow, God, you are the sum. There are so many problems in front of me that I cannot solve, but at the end of the day, you are the sum. You are the answer that I'll always look for. And then I listened to the song while I was going through anorexia. And the day after I decided, the day I decided to eat again, and I resurrendered my life to Christ. And then my very first song was "After Your Heart," and it goes, no ma, because I don't want to go somewhere else. I want to run towards you. I don't want to look away because my eyes are fixed on you. And it's just a declaration. Okay, I will never find all the answers to all the questions in the world, but I do have one answer, and the only answer that matters is you. And so I think that's what kept me going. That's what has been keeping me alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your faith is inspiring, and I'm sure a lot of people, women, men who are listening right now, probably are going through challenges also, and difficulties, and you saying that sometimes it's not just looking at the parts of the problem, but looking at it as a whole in God's eyes, the entire picture in God's eyes. And we may not understand one part, but the big picture of it all is, He has designed it. There is a design for it. Yeah, I'm getting inspired because of what you're saying, but I want to go back one step. You talked about challenges, and you talked about faith getting you through it. Maybe for people to somehow relate. You mentioned already terms, but like bulimia, anorexia, but what are the biggest challenges? Like maybe three challenges that you went through that you have overcome. Of course, with God's grace, with your faith, you can say that you've overcome, or maybe you are in the process of conquering. What are these things?
Well, anorexia. I've definitely overcome that. Uh, I'm not suicidal anymore. I had a suicidal tendency. So many attempts in 18 to 22, and no one ever knew about it until after, because there's just so much shame that I carried because I was a worship leader. I was inspiring to the youth. I had a platform to protect, and then I didn't want them to stumble or anything like that, or to be a reason for them to give up, because it's just me. I can't understand. I don't I don't want this anymore. I'm so tired. Um, but through the help of therapy, um, and through the help of just community, it's helped me a lot. And now, like, I'm very much aware that, sorry, my dog's snoring. Nice and quiet. um, uh, that part I have fully overcome. But you know what's funny, ate? Uh, I've always thought that the moment that God will use me when I'm completely healed. Because you know how a lot of times, like when we go through things, like uh, we only really talk about them when we've overcome them. But I never imagined God put me on a platform and talk about depression while I'm going through it. Like, it's a lot better now, definitely. It's not as bad as before, where, definitely now, especially with your help, I have it under control. Like, you've given me steps as to how to, like, walk through it, and it's gotten so much better now. But I met you last year. I've, I've had this platform for the last 4 years. And then in that 3 years, I had so much shame because, like, I was grateful. I was, in cloud nine. I was over the moon about it. but people, but I couldn't understand why I had this sinking feeling that I couldn't shake off. And um now I have answers to it, like hormonal imbalance and hypothyroiditis and like PCOS and all of those things. And all of a sudden, I'm not completely healed yet, but I don't feel the shame anymore because one, so many people are going through it. Two, it's not my fault. And three, I've seen artists now lang I've seen them talk about it, and there's this peace feeling that I am not alone in it, and like people like you who validate me, and it's just I definitely feel like I'm in the process of healing. I'm almost there. um but yeah, I just wanted to say, like, it's amazing how God doesn't call the qualified, but He qualifies the called. And
Oh, that's beautiful.
definitely that's definitely what I felt like, being put on stage and not having, like, yeah, I rehearsed, I know the steps, but I'm not ready, Lord. But when He says you are, then you are. And I realize how it's so much more empowering to see someone fighting through it than someone who just has all the answers. And so I feel like there's so much power in that.
Amen. That is so true. And imagine if God only uses the perfect. No one's gonna be there.
You said that you have this platform and somehow you need to protect it, right? And yet you came out and talked about uh, being suicidal,
Depression, yeah.
depression. Why the shift? What made you come out and say, you know what, I'll talk about this?
Because I don't read comments. I don't read the message. I don't read a lot of messages. Well, before, so I really pick where I read. And then I think this was around the first year. I I read something. I read about this girl. This girl sent me a long message, or I don't know if it was a message or if it was a. I think it was more a letter. She gave it to me during a show, and then she said there that if she had not heard, if she had not heard me talk about um my depression that night, she would have taken her own life. And I remember during the times that I was suicidal, I didn't have that person to run to who I knew would understand me. And so ever since that moment, I decided that I was going to use this platform and my music to be the friend that I didn't have when I was going through it. So to be that friend to people who needed validation, and people often ask, why are your songs always sad? And, and then I always just answer that, you know, you can't just, majority of the time, for you to be able to help somebody, you can't just give them all the answers or distract them. That's not going to heal anything. But when you show people, you list down the pain that you went through, they're going to feel, I went through that.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm not alone. And then you put a seed of hope in the end. And that you can just trust that God is gonna be the one to grow that seed and turn that into, healing, or make that their first step to healing. And um and so so there, that was the shift. There was also this one time, Kuya R, um I only Malaya had come out, and I think After Your Heart, and this was a long time ago. My big break didn't happen yet, but we released Malaya, and uh I was, because I always walk alone in the mall before, because I used to live with my tita Mayan. So I would walk around Salcedo, and I liked having my alone coffee time, ganyan. And then it was one of those days where I wanted to I was contemplating again to give up, to take my own life. And so instead of just staying in the room, I decided to walk around. And then I got into this mall in Makati. And then there was this girl who looked at me and goes, Ate Moira. And at that time, may following naman ako, konti. May following na ako na, I think Camp Sweet did come out already. And then she's like, Ate Moira. And then I was like, hi. Yes, my name's Moira. Have we met? And then she's like, wait. And then she was getting teary-eyed. And then she goes, wait, can you just wait there? And I remember it was like outside, like Contis or something. It was like outside of like a restaurant. And so I was with my dog and I was like, okay, is she gonna come back? And then she comes back with like three of her siblings, and she had like a kuya, and then another brother, and then like a sister. So there were like four or five of them. I don't remember clearly, but I remember they all were just like, like I felt like, oh, they're fans, ganyan. And so my heart was warming up a bit, and then their dad comes, and then their dad cries, like just like that, like. And then apparently, in the last 6 months, their mom battled cancer, and she decided not to push through na. And then like basta she had to go through like chemo, and then every time she had to go through chemo, she wanted to play my songs. So she would just play my songs, and then malaya na naman, after your heart na naman, malaya, malaya. And then the dad goes, one time he just goes, sawa na ako kay Moira. Why are we always listening to Malaya? It's a sad song. It's not hopeful. He was saying, let's play something else. And then the mom goes, it's just that when I listen to Moira, I'm reminded I am in the presence of God. And
Amazing.
and then the dad just goes, okay. Um and then a week, they were just in the house for a week after she passed. And that day was the first time they went out as a family out after she passed. And so when they saw me, the dad goes, Moira, I know this is weird for you, but it's just seeing you now is reminding us that she is in the presence of God. And that just that it gave me so much peace. And so
Making our cry.
and
Grabe.
so there, so that's after that, my career, a year later, my career just bloomed, and I knew that that happened for a reason, that God showed me that before my big break,
That's
so
your
Amazing.
that I have a mission.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, see, I don't know every story. This is such a beautiful story, Moy. And it's like, hearing about it, it's like, indeed, it's the presence of God, eh. And it's like, with your voice, how instrumental it is in the life of somebody. And imagine how that moment transpired na it's the first time they went out as a family and grieving, and then they see you. How
and it worked
amazing.
and it worked both ways, no? It came at a time that you needed to hear that also, right?
Yeah.
So galing.
Si God talaga, masyadong magaling.
Galing.
It sobrang nakaka-proud, and some people probably would need to just open their eyes to these moments, na maybe at a point of desperation, a point of sadness, if they walk around, if they just take a walk around, maybe they can see some message from God, from a stranger, from a beautiful dog, from a beautiful sunset. And I think, RR always says this: God does not have a communication problem.
We have a listening problem.
I like that.
So I think that's truly inspiring. Now, I want to progress to, probably two more questions, but one is that you talked about you went through things to help you be better. There were things, there were steps you did. Of course, prayer is there.
Mhm.
Of course, your faith is there. But what were the useful things that you did?
Practical things.
Practical things that you did. Probably some of them, yes, I advised you to do. But yeah, what worked for you? Na parang, I like that. That worked for me. What were those things that helped you feel better and put you in a better place?
Uh, my number one will always be, before all the practical things came in, this is what saved me. It's really worship. Um, Putting yourself in the presence of God, and just, and there's something so depressing. It's so depressing now, like our time now, like what's happening in the world now. It can really eat us up. But when we focus on the God who can take care of us, and like he's so much bigger than all of this. We may not know the answers to everything, but we know that he is always faithful, that this virus, it's not from him. So like he's hurting with us, he's in pain with us, and he wants to take care of us. And focusing on our dad instead of focusing on our pain
Mm.
is so freeing. And that's something that's one of the first things that I learned as I journeyed through, depression and anxiety. um Number one is worship. Number two, this is something that I should do more, but I don't yet. And it's working out. I've learned that, and just seeing Jason's looking at me.
Jason.
Um, but I'm an outdoors person kasi I'm not a very social. I mean, I can be social, but I like the hiking, the just walking around nature. I love that. But that's something that we're very that we're not allowed to do a lot of in this season.
Mhm.
But working out has really helped me. I've learned that, you know, happy hormones is a real thing, and you can get more of it if you are practical with exercising. Stop. Jason bought a bike at the Carelle. He bought a he bought he bought an expensive bike. I bought her too. And then I said, sabi niya, can I buy this bike? And I was like, mahal. Bala ka mahal, sabi ko. And then sabi na, so I don't know if you saw his post, but it went viral for some reason. And for him to validate what he did, he bought me a bike. I never.
Good job.
And when I didn't give him the reaction he wanted, he was so sad. But it's like, I didn't ask for a bike. But now we're gonna start biking. Um, I'm gonna start biking with him. So that's something that I know I need to do more of, but it's definitely something that helped me, especially in those first times in the suicide, after I overcame my suicidal tendencies. Like I got into boxing, I was very fit, and I really got my head together.
Mhm.
And then number three is food. I didn't understand that gut health is actually mental health. And that's something that I've been learning a lot of, like just being practical. Like with my condition now, I feel very sad when I look at it and it says go grain free, soy free, dairy free, gluten free. So I'm like, okay, so what am I gonna eat? But I'm very grateful that I have you at the Carelle to guide me. Like I have now a team who is helping me get back, because like my condition, it's not, there's not much awareness for it, and I know a lot of people go through it. um and sometimes I find it unfair when depressed people or people who underperform are just tagged as, bad people, but really there's just an underlying cause. And so like I learned that like with my condition, I have brain fog, and my psoriasis is from it, my depression, my anxiety, it's all connected. So now I am with you, with Baron Method, with Core, with Doc Cherie, because she's been helping me manage my hormones, and community. So worship, exercise, food, and community, because you can't go through this alone. You can't just figure it out on your own, because the more you do, the more you feel that what you're going through is an isolated case, which is not. And dogs are a big part of it.
I'm so proud of you now, and hearing you, and how much you've grown even in the past year, because what you were doing to help you become stronger is to really set it up. You set your heart, you set your mind, you set your body. And yes, it mas maraming set up because you also have physical ailments. So parang
Yeah.
ile-level up din natin yung pag-set up, 'di ba? Yun naman siya.
Yeah.
Now, the last three,
Question
the,
that we
the, the
always
question
ask.
that we always ask. Sige, ikaw na.
Sige, if you were like another person and you look at Moira, okay, name me the characteristics why you think she's strong.
3 things.
Can Jason just answer? Yun na lang. I don't know.
It is a tough question for
It's a
people.
tough
Kasi
question.
parang, yes, Jason can honor you, so many people can honor you, but for you to acknowledge it is also important.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Seeing it from their eyes.
Moira loves God above all else. And you could see that she's scared, but you can see that she goes through it anyway. She is not afraid to be vulnerable if it means the comfort of other people. She is dedicated to her craft, and she is full of empathy and compassion.
So there you go. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Moy. We hope that this has been a meaningful conversation.
Of course, I had my notebook this whole time. You said this was gonna be a session.
We'll have a session right after. Okay. So, she has such a sweet voice. Parang akala mo hindi makabasag pinggan. And you would somehow think, ano yung strong sa isang taong
I
parang
was about to say yes.
lahat na lang ng sinasabi niya ay parang very fragile.
And I think that for me is real strength, because she doesn't have to assert that much. She doesn't have to be loud to be able to be heard.
Oh yes.
She used a different platform. She used her strength, which is really
Her God-given strength.
yes, songwriting and her voice.
Oh yes.
And to be heard, and to help a lot of people. And kitang-kita yon during that story when a family met her in that coffee shop and said, you just don't know how much you helped us and how much you helped our mom. Diba? Listening to that song, listening to your voice. So, galing.
Ang daming paniniwala kasi na pag strong ka, never kang nagiging mahina. Or never kang nagiging marupok. Or never kang nagkakaroon ng issues in life. Hindi eh. Naririnig natin na grabe yung in-overcome niya. Ang dami yun. Bulimia, anorexia, depression, even physical illnesses that she had to overcome. It takes courage for you to face them and say, I will not be that.
Yeah.
I will not be defined by that. That's not who I am, and that's not how God created me to be.
That's the personal struggle, right? And yun, of course, it takes strength. And aside from that, it also takes strength to tell your story about it. To tell
Yeah.
people that, I was on the brink of taking my own life. Talking about yung anorexia and the illnesses, no?
Yeah.
And
And to seek help for that.
yeah,
Because a lot of people just stay in it. Yung tipong meron akong pinagdadaanan, suffer na lang ako mag-isa. It takes strength for you to just get out of bed, to take a walk, to do something. So if you're going through a rut, a difficult moment, do as, Moira did. Get up, change that choice. Take a walk. Maybe you will be met with a sign. Maybe you will be met with a message.
and
Just like,
consult an expert.
yeah.
Like, sabi nga niya na parang hindi ko alam ano pala siya. It's my body. There is an imbalance. So,
Yeah.
who would have thought? Who would have known? So, kailangan talaga ng expert, guys.
Oo.
So,
Hindi natin pwedeng sarilihin at
Yeah.
saka hindi tayo humingi ng tulong kung kailangan talaga natin ng tulong.
And this is the reason why we're also doing this, because for those people who are suffering from the same struggles, no, same challenges, we wanna show everyone that you are not alone, and there is a way out. And with our interviews, hopefully you can get tips on how to move forward. So
Yeah, I was inspired with that. I hope you were too. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us. Sana po ay hindi lang sa mga nakikinig sa mga kanta ni Moira na dun kayo mai-inspire at makahanap ng hope. Sana pati dun sa storya ng buhay niya, nakikitaan nyo rin na merong paraan. There's always a way out. And if you have that connection to your faith, you have your connection with people, your family, your friends, or a support system, marami, kung buksan mo lang yung mata mo at buksan mo lang yung tenga mo, they're out there wanting and willing to help you to make you stronger.
So again, thank you for watching, and in watching, I hope you find your own story of strength. See you next episode.